Blizzard can't stop killing Horde. Oh no, did the Horde feel that way? I mean, I'm an Alliance player, and I feel just fine sitting here with my Alliance tunes and everything else. Killing Horde, I mean, yeah, Garrosh on the front here, I still say Garrosh was a great character. They shouldn't have killed him. I kind of wish that he was still around. He made the game exciting and fun. I did think Lorthamar was going to die in the cinematic. The second I saw him there, I was like, oh my god, another male leader biting the dust here. Maybe. Well, he didn't die as of yet. I hope he still survives the beginning of this expansion. We'll see. But is Blizzard really killing off Horde characters? Let's see what this video is all about here from Bellular.
When you saw Lorthamar in the cinematic, did you just think, hang on, is this another Horde leader that's going to die very shortly? I kind of did as well, and that's why
I just remembered Gallywix died as well in this expansion. That's right, he was technically another Horde leader that bit the dust.
This video exists. So, this is Grom Hellscream. He's Garrosh's father, he's the first war chief of the modern Horde, and you might not know who he is, and even if you do, you may not realize that he's the reason why Blizzard loves killing Horde leaders. Seriously though, let me explain. Orcs were first introduced as bloodthirsty maniacs. Thrall then reformed the orcs into what we know today. But there was only so much he could do because the orcs were quite literally cursed.
Yeah, that's why I said they kind of were bloodthirsty maniacs. They drank the freaking, they drank demon blood. And they went on an absolute rampage. So yeah, they were just out thirsting for blood constantly.
Corrupted by
poor
this guy, Manaroth, a pit lord of the Burning Legion. Drinking his blood turned them into the green berserkers that we saw in Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2. But by the end of Warcraft 3's Orc campaign, Thrall and Grom cornered Manaroth in Felwood. But they weren't enough, so Grom did what had to be done. He sacrificed himself, killing Manaroth and setting the Orcs free. And it's that noble sacrifice that redeemed the Orcs and gave the Horde a fighting chance for a real civilization on Azeroth. It was an epic narrative moment. It solidified the fact that when their backs are up against the wall, that Horde leaders would die for the greater good. And they kept on doing that. Karn Bloodhoof, Vol'jin, Saurfang.
Oh man, Saurfang.
At others.
Can I just say, like, just BFA in general, I thought, and I said this before, great storytelling. I mean, you could say what you want about the expansion. We had some of the best storytelling we ever had in WoW. I'm talking about, like, in-game storytelling. I'm not saying it's the best story ever in WoW, but the in-game storytelling was S tier. I mean, I still get feelings when I watch the cinematic of Grom holding his dead son in Northrend with this necklace on and stuff. Man, it was so good, and the music was amazing. The Anduin cutscenes were pretty good. I personally like the Hellscream story a lot. Man, I miss that. Whatever happened to these fully rendered cinematics in the game? Blizzard just decided not to do that anymore. Instead, we get the in-game rendered stuff where their mouth doesn't exactly match the words that are coming out of it. Good stuff.
Fine. But then you look at others, and you find their stories are similar. Garrosh living up to Grom's legacy, sacrificing everything for what he thought was right. Kel'Thas, the prince of the Blood Elves, trying to save his people, only to go mad. The Horde is driven by this story of noble sacrifice, but by now, it's happened so many times that Blizzard begins to look more like an executioner with a line of headless bodies behind.
I'll be sad if they kill Lorthamar. I actually, even though I'm an Alliance player, I actually think Lorthamar's a cool leader. I do. And you could say whatever his moment in the cinematic, a bit cringy maybe. I thought it was pretty cool. And I think Lorthamar's a good leader. He's a level-headed leader. He's one of the only really experienced leaders left on the Horde because, yeah, they've killed all the experience off. Maybe Thrall is, but Thrall's not considered to be a Horde leader anymore. So you got Lorthamar up there. He's a level-headed guy. He's smart. Evidently, he's going to let all the elves back into Silvermoon right now to fight a common enemy. So he's not too headstrong on, oh, you're my enemy, I'll never get over that shit. No, he's not. Lorthamar kept the Sunstrider throne warm, but he never wanted to be crowned. Right, he didn't. But, he took it up to serve his people. And that's what he is. He's a man of the people, just like Samicus.
Find it. So today, we're going to dive into why Blizzard loves killing Horde leaders. Maybe we'll have a think about poor Lorthamar, whether he'll make it out of this expansion alive. But there's something you should know. This is Xal'atath's complete story. It's 37 minutes of pure lore. It's a mammoth video that'll help you enjoy Midnight. We put a full week of editing into this, we shot custom scenes, and Bellular.Games members can watch it right now. Your support lets us craft big, deep dive videos like this without
Wow.
sacrificing our other content. So thank you, and I know all the other viewers thank you as well. You can check it out in the link below or catch it public when it goes live next week. The first leader to die was an orc who was murdered by another orc. And it's a story you may not know. Blackhand was war chief of a bloodthirsty horde controlled by Gul'dan's Shadow Council. To be clear, this is not the Gul'dan you will know from Warlords of Draenor. This is the original Gul'dan.
Right,
Now, his
not
second
AU
in
Gul'dan.
command,
Right.
Orgrim Doomhammer, was mostly on board with invading Azeroth, but he thought Blackhand was a traitor that sold the orcs essentially into slavery. So he challenged Blackhand to Mak'gora, essentially ritual one-on-one combat, and
Kicked his
killed
ass.
him.
Yeah.
Wise move for a happier horde.
Mister. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. Yeah, Orgrim Doomhammer, also, Orgrimmar, named after him. Yeah, he was a badass. He was a cool orc. And he was yes, he was part of the horde that invaded and everything, but he was always questioning the whole Gul'dan demon magic shit. He was always leery of it. And that's why he was cool too.
He then went on to kill every warlock
Smart
in
orc.
the Shadow Council. Even with that, the Horde wasn't saved. They were conquering Azeroth for a reason. They wanted resources.
Yeah, he didn't trust the
Ogrim
Shadow
destroyed Stormwind. He invaded Lordaeron and nearly wiped humanity from the face of the planet. But unfortunately for the orcs, a betrayal would happen. Gul'dan cared a lot about personal power, and he went off on a fool's errand, taking forces with him. This split the Horde, giving the Alliance enough momentum to push Ogrim's Horde all the way to Blackrock Spire, so way from the north of the continent where they had actually conquered, all the way back near the Dark Portal. And in the conflict there, Ogrim killed Anduin Lothar, major leader of the humans, but he was then defeated by Turalyon. Yes, Turalyon, as you see in World of Warcraft today.
Yeah. Turalion's had some heroic moments, man. I think a lot of people just take Turalyon as like some kind of meme at this point, but he's actually an Alliance badass. He is. And he's not really just Alliance. I mean, yeah, he's of the light. I mean, he's become a light zealot. I would say at this point, I don't think Turalyon had fully embraced the light yet. I don't even know if Turalyon was a paladin back then. He may have been, but he could have also just been a warrior. He hadn't respect yet. But now Turalyon, yes, we see him as this light zealot. I think he could play a big role going forward at Midnight. Obviously, with the Army of the Light and everything, he should. But then you got his son, Eretor, the half-elf, half-human, half-light, half-void character right now. He got a full new model. He's going to play a big role. So I think we're going to see a lot more Turalyon, and he's got a badass history. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him.
Ogrim was captured but managed to escape, and he fled to the Altaric Mountains. That's where he met Thrall, who, along with other orcs, were stuck in internment camps. He then gave Thrall his armor
not
and the
now anymore.
Doomhammer, and then granted upon him the title of War Chief of the new Horde. Ogrim finally died from an Alliance lance to the back whilst trying to save orcs from the Lordaeron internment camps.
Ooh.
Ogrim wasn't a good guy in a plain way, but he killed Blackhand because Blackhand was driving the Horde into the ground, and ultimately he did sacrifice himself to save his people. He did die for what he thought was a greater good, and he passed the torch on to someone who he thought could take the Horde to a better place. And now we're going to see how that story would repeat over and over and over again. Many years later, and after meeting loads of original orcs from Draenor, well, Garrosh, one of those orcs, was made war chief by Thrall, and he was made war chief exactly because of his father's legacy. You see, Grom was his father. Grom was war chief, and Thrall felt that he had somewhat earned it. It was supposed to be a symbolic thing. Who better to next lead the orcs than the son of one of their greatest heroes? And that meant that when Thrall first discovered Grom's son on Draenor, he started shaping him into the future war chief.
Yeah, I think Thrall doesn't take enough, blame for the way that all this turned out with Garrosh. He found Garrosh just sitting there in Nagrand, decided to take him under his wing, and then suddenly thrust him into the leadership position of the Horde because he had a mental fucking break with the elements. And what the hell? Talk about setting somebody else up for failure. And then the truth is, he wasn't really failing. I mean, he was fucking around a little bit with the other races. He shouldn't have killed Karen Bloodhoof. That was a mistake for sure. I think the Tauren were valuable allies, and he kind of messed that one up. But he did make the Horde stronger. He did. And he led them to some really good things. I mean, the rebuilding of Orgrimmar. He took a lot of territories. He took no shit from anybody. Sylvanas, look, he was leery of her. Turns out he was right to call her a bitch. Look at Shadowlands, what happened there. Just saying. He was right about a couple things. But I thought Garrosh was a great character, and I enjoyed his story arc.
He even gave him
I just
his
wish he
father's
wasn't
axe,
dead.
Gorehowl. Now, during Wrath of the Lich King, we saw Garrosh was a little unhinged.
He's hot-headed.
After the elemental unrest and Deathwing, Thrall wanted to retire. He wanted to tend to the world, to re-engage with shamanism, and so he made Garrosh war chief. And this is where the first major character of the modern Horde dies. Karn Bloodhoof. The Tauren had been with Thrall since the Barons, all the way back in Warcraft 3, and they were now a backbone of the Horde. And if anything, they were more noble, and Karn did not like the way the Horde was going. So, after a string of questionable decisions, one of which led to the murder of Tauren druids by Garrosh's goons, Karn had enough. He challenged Garrosh to Mak-Gorah. That's again the Orcish tradition of ritual combat, a way to sort out differences of opinion.
And Garrosh won because his weapon was poisoned. Unbeknownst to him. He didn't know, but his weapon was poisoned. That's right.
But it was also a way to challenge someone's leadership. Now, it could be done to who draws first blood, but Karn insisted that this one would be to the death, and Garrosh agreed. At first, Karn was throwing down, absolutely bullying the younger orc.
Yeah.
But Garrosh's weapon was covered in Grim Totem poison. The Grim Totems being a, let's say, agitator group, tribe of Tauren. And so,
Betrayed.
after a small wound from Gorehowl, Karn was paralyzed. And that allowed Garrosh to quickly land a killing blow, taking out the first Horde leader.
Yeah.
No, I said
This is Bane Bloodhoof's dad, by the way, the current leader of the Tauren. That was his dad.
Karn was the first to
of you
die.
don't know.
Well, that's not strictly true. It was actually Kel'Thas Sunstrider, but his is a more complicated story. It's not exactly like the others. In Warcraft, elves are framed as a dying race. The Night Elves have fallen from their empire. The Blood Elves named themselves after all the blood Arthas spilt invading Silvermoon. And after the destruction of the Sunwell, Kael brought the best and brightest of his people to Outland to serve Illidan. Why would he do something like this? Well, it's quite simple. In this expedition, Kel'Thas had found a solution to their growing magic addiction, because without the Sunwell, their race was somewhat doomed. So Illidan offered magic, self-control, and whatever sources of power could be found to save Kel'Thas's people. And one of those sources was the Fel, and Kael drank way too deep of the green juice and fell to
Drank
the
too much of the
whispers
Kool-Aid.
of Kil'jaeden,
Yeah.
one of the Lords of the Burning Legion. So after his defeat in Tempest Keep, he returned to Quel'Thalas and he tried to use the Sunwell as a essentially mini Well of Eternity, as a portal to summon in the Burning Legion, specifically to summon in Kil'jaeden. Of course, we went there and we put him down. But this wasn't really putting down a Horde leader.
And then just like everything else at Shadowlands, things got weird and we killed him again. Or we freed him. We actually freed him in that fight. Yeah. His soul was being tortured and we freed it. Wonderful.
Because by that stage,
Nothing makes sense
we
in that
looked
expansion.
to Lorthamar and Liadrin as the Blood Elves' leaders. But it is another example of Horde storytelling starting with good intentions and ending with a dead leader. Another casualty, funnily enough, of Arthas' invasion of Quel'Thalas was Sylvanas, and that brings us to the modern arc of brutally murdering Horde leaders to make sure that storyline progresses. Okay, it's Pandaria time. Garrosh is war chief. Of course, he tried to forge what he thought was a true alpha horde. He killed Karn and he invaded Pandaria. But blinded by arrogance, he too went off the deep end. And it wasn't the Alliance who had to put him down, it was the Horde. It was time to inject some honor back into their strength. He was put on trial after his defeat in the Siege of Orgrimmar, but was busted out of prison by Rathian and teleported to alternate universe Draenor, where he got to sort out his daddy issues with Grom and start the Iron Horde.
Yeah, did we address this on Dragonflight? I don't remember. But Rathian kind of set off the whole freaking Iron Horde and all that shit. That was his fault. He's the one who freed Garrosh. Did we ever kind of talk to him about it? The whole thing about Rathian is he had this view of the world where like the Alliance and the Horde cannot exist and fight against the world threats that are coming. So there has to be one or the other. It has to be just so he was trying to always pick a side. At one point, he's becoming friends with Anduin because he thought the Alliance was going to be the one to do it. At another point, he thought, oh, maybe this version of the Iron Horde could do it. So that's his thing. Yeah, Rathian, the Black Dragon. You guys remember him? We dealt with him in Mists of Pandaria, and we dealt with him a lot in Dragonflight. I don't know if he got punched by Anduin. That's right. I remember that in the cinematic. Blamed him for Varian's death. Never really went further than that. Yeah, some deep writing right there. Yeah, so I don't know. He was too busy in Nyalotha. Maybe. We totally trusted him to take us on a raid, too. That's right, into Nyalotha. After he did this shit. Whatever, I guess bygones be bygones.
Horde. Yeah, the story got a little bit weird at that point in time. But this was just more evil Horde storytelling. Thrall and Garrosh eventually met in a field in Nagrand, where Thrall challenged his once protege to
I thought it was a bronze dragon. I think there was some time travel bronze dragon shit going on, but Rathian was the one who freed Garrosh from his trial. Remember we had a trial, put him to death or whatever, and then he got freed. So Rathian was the one who freed him from jail. I don't know what magic they used to go to an alternate timeline. I'm sure it was bronze dragon shit.
Barra. And when doing this, Thrall promised to fight in the old way. Yeah, basically, he brought a gun and a few missiles plus a hunter-killer drone to a fist fight. And with that, another Horde leader was put down and the nobility of the Horde was once again restored. But Thrall didn't want his old job again, so that title was given to Vol'jin. You see, Vol'jin's father, Sen'jin, once sacrificed himself to...
Vol'jin. Yeah, Vol'jin was a cool leader who got totally trashed. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's fine killing off Horde leaders. It's happened. But the Vol'jin kill just felt so unnecessary. Like, he was a cool Horde leader, and the whole point of it maybe was just to put Sylvanas in a leadership position. But his death just seemed so unnecessary for such a cool character. He got killed by an NPC. Literally an NPC in the middle of the fight. I mean, what the hell? Well, yeah, Varian also got, destroyed, but he was fighting the entire army by himself at that point. He was trying to single man a raid boss. And he got decently far. He killed a couple of them before Gul'dan turned him into dust. But Vol'jin, just random NPC speared at the back. Oh no.
Give that group of island trolls a chance to escape and to have a future in the Horde. And soon, it would be Vol'jin's turn to die. Our alternate universe adventure to Draenor ended up with a new version of Gul'dan basically escaping, serving the Burning Legion, and starting a Legion invasion of Azeroth. This invasion was centered on the Broken Shore, a place called the Tomb of Sargat.
But is Vol'jin really dead? Well, he's a Loa now. He's the Loa of Kings. Post BFA, that's where his current position is. So he still gets to take a cool position in the game. But they could have made his death, I don't know, more noteworthy. Literal NPC. I guess it's a spirit of the stomach, not the back. Yeah, it just seemed kind of anticlimactic for such a badass.
So, to deal with the problem, everyone banded together and tried to fight.
Yeah, right there.
Back.
That was his death
Leading
moment.
the Horde was Vol'jin, and after not that much fighting, he took a Felguard's blade to the stomach, and while he wasn't immediately killed, he was absolutely succumbing not only to the wound, but also the corruption inherent in being stabbed with such a blade by such a being. And in his death haze, he heard a whisper from the Loa. Of course, the Loa are their gods. And this god told him to make Sylvanas the next war chief.
Turns out it wasn't the Loa, it was some Shadowlands jailer bullshit. That's right. Yeah, Shadowlands spirits manipulated his fate. Yeah, I think you could just totally take that route that he would have survived the fight maybe, but the Shadowlands spirits did some kind of weird shit, distracted him during the fight maybe so he would die, and then whispered to him to put Sylvanas in leadership position. Yeah.
So he did that, and then he died. And suffice it to say, everyone
was it an old god he was hearing? Was it? I don't think it was an old god. I think it was the jailer who manipulated him into doing that shit. I don't think it was an old god whisper, because the old gods weren't necessarily aligned with the jailer, right? I don't think that's the case. Jailer was just doing his thing. Mr. N'Zoth himself, was it? I don't know. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't think it was.
This move. It seemed bizarre, but at the time, we didn't know how that story would go.
Oh, it was. That's right. You guys remember? Hold on. No, I know who it was. It was, what's his name? From the dungeon. Muzala? It was Muzala. Muzala had aligned himself with the jailer. That's what it was. Remember, we run the dungeon with Bwonsamdi. We go through the whole thing, and Muzala's talking about how he's aligned with the jailer and all that shit. And he whispered. That's what it was. Yeah, it was the big giant Muzala guy who was the Deathloa, I think, or something. And then Bwonsamdi takes his place, kind of thing.
What we saw was another Horde leader dying to do.
Yeah, it wasn't Olcast. It wasn't
right.
Azam.
Because even though he would not be the first person to nominate Sylvanas for anything important, well, one of his gods told him that she was the way to save the Horde, so he did it. He did not realize how wrong he was. Because as it turns out, that was actually a Loa called Muzala.
I guess I could have just let the video play, but at least I giga-brained it myself. I figured it out.
Muzala was an agent of the jailer, whispering into Vol'jin's ear. And this was another ploy to
Muzala.
subvert the Horde. Sylvanas was now leader, and much like Garros, she drove the Horde into another suicidal war. Though at first, she did a great job of rallying the troops. That funeral scene was either an S-tier performance from her, or, quite simply, those writing World of Warcraft, popped too many Zannies and went absolutely mad with
the writers probably fucked
up. The less we speak of that, the better. Her motivations aside, the Horde quickly realized that she didn't really represent the values that they had fought and died for. And the last bastion of that strength and honor was Varrock Saurfang, the old orc. And once again, he stepped up
Saurfang was
challenged Sylvanas to Mak Garah. There's a lot of people doing Mak Garahs and, dying. And this was the culmination of...
Have we ever seen a Mak Garah where somebody didn't cheat at this point? I mean, we know that the poison weapon from Garrosh cheating, even though he didn't know it. Thrall using elements and shit during the fight, cheating. You're not supposed to do that. It's just supposed to be weapon-based combat. And then Sylvanas using jailer freaking magic during the fight, cheating. When was the last time we saw an honorable Mak Garah? Probably never in the game.
Noble sacrifice storytelling that began with Grom Hellscream in Warcraft 3. That no matter what, when your back is against the wall, you have to choose to die with honor. That is what Saurfang did. And in doing so, he outed Sylvanas as the Horde-hating monster that she was. In the background, King Rastakhan, another Horde leader, had also died.
Another really cool leader.
And it was beginning to feel like Blizzard could own...
King Rastakhan was a cool one too, and he had been around for so long, and then all of a sudden he just dies the way he died. We beat him in a raid, and that's it. That's the end of him. I think he would have been a cool leader to see join the Horde side legitimately. Said we got his daughter now. She's okay, but I know King Rastakhan's kind of legendary. He would have been a cool one.
Tell a story of the Horde's strength by putting one of their leaders back up against a wall and having them kill themselves in glorious combat. A little bit like watching the TV show Shogun and deciding, I'll take a shot every time someone does seppuku, and then dying before you reach the final episode. Now, currently, it's been a while since a Horde leader has truly died, but when we went to the Shadowlands, it had become rather clear that Blizzard had become the Grim Reaper, knocking at each of their doors until all of the founding leaders of the new Horde were dead, save Thrall. In isolation, these stories are often great. Well, one or two are pretty awful, looking at you, Sylvanas, but broadly speaking, there's a lot of good stuff here. But people began to become detached from the Horde, and there was another problem. The Alliance didn't seem to get this. While us Alliance mains may have thought that we got some pretty lukewarm, boring stories and that the Horde got all the cool stuff, it's undoubtedly the case that the Horde stories really did begin to repeat, that Blizzard just kept on killing Horde leaders. We went to the depth of that today, but if you want a broader view of the failures in Horde storytelling, you'll need to check out this video on why the modern Horde somewhat sucks and that how players have noticed. As we move into Midnight, it certainly looks that Lor'themar is looking pretty badass. Certainly also looks...
He's always been a badass.
His back is up against the wall. But you know what? I think Blizzard are self-aware enough to not go and kill him. I think they do want to develop faction narratives more. We've been told that will happen in this expansion. If you ask me, it's about time that the Alliance started having some of those struggles too. If you want to learn more about why the Horde sort of began to suck and how players have noticed, watch this video next.
I mean, the Alliance had Varian Wrynn, right? I mean, Varian died, noble sacrifice, badass death. But yeah, certainly less deaths on the Alliance side than the Horde side. We'll see where this all goes. I do hope, as I said before, Lor'themar survives. the Midnight expansion, but we'll have to see. Nice video from Bellular.